So gluten is a protein, and it's made up of amino acids, right? Any protein structure is made up of its building blocks, which are called amino acids. Right? So say there's a certain number of amino acids joined together in a specific sequence, which is gluten is one example. Amino acids will get pulled off and broken down, and they'll get broken into smaller units. So by the end of a sourdough process, you don't actually have gluten anymore.
Oh, okay.
You'll have maybe some groups of amino acids that were in the gluten, but not the complete gluten structure itself.
Wow.
Right? And it does appear that for many people who are showing a gluten sensitivity, this makes the bread a lot easier to digest. The impact of eating a whole grain bread on a person's blood sugar is very different from eating a white bread.
Right? Oh, really?
Absolutely. Right?
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so basically the brown parts of the flour have a nice effect in the body in terms of keeping the blood sugar stable. Right? If you eat white flour, white sugar, white rice, white pasta, these types of things, what you get is a quick hit of carbohydrate, which spikes the blood sugar, and over time this can be really hard on the pancreas and other organs in the body, and you end up with various blood sugar related conditions. There are definitely beneficial things in the bran and the germ that we know about. I mean, there's all from a Western scientific point of view, again, there are all the important fibers, the fatty acids, the minerals are often bound up in the bran and the germ. And it makes a nice bread. I like the texture of a whole grain bread. It's so substantial. It feels like food to me. I can only see one good reason why I would feed my sourdough starter white flour, and it would be that I didn't have any other flour. Sure, you could feed molasses or feed sugar or feed more white flour, fine, you can do that. But it is likely at the expense of other members of the community.
Okay.
Right? Because the yeast are going to proliferate, they're going to crowd out some of the other types of organisms.
Okay.
And myself, I really value the lactic acid bacteria as well. This is a community, right? And in every community, in a healthy community, there are all kinds of different people working on different jobs, basically. So the yeasts are really good at puffing up the bread. That's great. Right? And they're good at giving that yeasty smell, and that's very nice of them, right? But what they don't do is break down the gluten.
Okay.
Right? What they don't do is make the minerals available. What they don't do is eliminate some of the bloat that people are experiencing because some of those other structures that are in the flour are really, really hard to digest. Yeah, I want my starter to have a full intelligence, of a full know-how of what it's supposed to do when I put it in my dough.
Right.
And if my starter has the same type of ingredients as my dough will have, my understanding is that it will have that faculty built into it. It'll have the various organisms and processes built in, and those organisms have some practice at actually breaking down what they're supposed to break down in the end. There is a benefit to using a sourdough starter when you're making a white bread. Absolutely, it is still going to be much easier to digest. The gluten structures are going to be broken down. You'll get better flavor. You'll get better lasting power on the bread, because some of the byproducts of the fermentation process act as preservatives in the bread. So a sourdough bread will often have a longer shelf life than a yeasted bread. For me, something that I value is lessening my dependence on industrial food production, right? And to buy a baker's yeast, it's this kind of the dependence that I have on some company that's making these products. For me, I keep my starter. I've been keeping my starter for 15 years. I just keep feeding it. I started it myself with grain and water, and that's just what I keep using to make my bread, and it makes me feel very empowered. Yeasted bread is not easy to digest for anybody. I don't think, even with the most effective, powerful digestive system. When children are growing, their systems are just figuring out how to deal with food, right? And why we want to compromise their systems. Right? There's this organ called the pancreas, and the pancreas has a lot of different jobs. One is to help keep the blood sugar levels in the body stable. Another thing it does is it makes enzymes. Now, enzymes are these things that basically help to break down nutrients that are in food. If we keep delivering to the body this food that is not easy to digest, the pancreas has to work extra hard. Right? And when pancreas works extra hard, it doesn't get to do other things that it otherwise would have put energy into. Right? And what I often see in folks who are eating food that they can't easily digest, whether it's child or adult, is they end up with stuffy noses. They get gassy, bloated, soft stools, things like this. And those are often the common symptoms that people say come from eating bread. That people are saying that their kids are getting, they're misbehaving or they're acting out when they eat bread, or they get really mucousy, or they get ear infections, or repeated colds and flus, right? And that when they stopped eating bread, everything got better. Now the question is it the bread? Is it the wheat? Or is it the form of the wheat?
Is it, the way?
Right? Is it the way it's prepared? Right? And I see it time and time again. People who have a hard time digesting a yeasted bread, all of a sudden they start eating a slowly fermented sourdough, whole grain bread. All of a sudden, it's like a totally different thing. Okay, so this is red Fife wheat. This is one of the heirloom wheats, one of the really old types of wheat that similar to spelt or kamut that I'm using right now to make my bread. And this is a grain mill that was built by Roger Barrett, a friend of mine. And what we have in here are a couple of big stones, one on the bottom, one on the top, and the grain comes from the top through the hopper. This is the hopper, into the hole, and gets stuck between the two stones, and one of the stones on top rotates and crushes the grain into flour, essentially, and the flour is going to come out the bottom, and it's going to make a whole lot of noise.
All right.
What are we going to make?
Well, we're going to just make some bread dough over here.
Well, we're going to make bread?
Yeah. Well, we're going to start making bread. It takes a lot longer than we have today.
You make 2 of them. I'm going to make 3. Me too.
Okay.
Throwing
Sure.
dough.
So yeah, you can break your dough into a whole bunch of little pieces if you want.
Look what I did. After that, me and Nathan, you know what we're doing?
What?
We're making these little balls.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a bunch of different shapes. I'm going to make balls. And then shape the balls. These are just balls. I'm going to make pancake shape. And then I'm going to turn them into pancakes.
Oh boy.
I'm going to make some balls and then pancakes.
How do you turn them into pancakes? You smush them?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to make a pancake. Me too.
Okay, so say, can you take 2 scoops of water
Okay.
and put it in your dough? So Ethan, would you like to take 2 scoops of water?
Okay.
Okay.
And one.
Say, do you know about your claw?
Yes.
Let's see you use your claw to mash up all the sourdough, okay? Yeah.
But I just need to get all the stuff.
Do you want me to show you, Ethan, in your bowl how we use our claw? What we want to do is mush up all of this dough with the water so it becomes like a paste or just a liquid, okay?
Like
Yeah.
It could come into anything. Just can't bump.
Yeah.
We're making a sponge.
We are making a sponge.
Yeah, ew. Oh, I'll drink some of that.
There you go.
Wow, there's a lot of flour in here.
That's a lot of flour, isn't it? almost like Play-Doh, except you can eat it
Did I have some?
later.
Yeah.
I need that. I want to eat it right now.
Well, it might not be that easy for your tummy right now. How's it going there, Said? Can I check out your dough? Can I see how yours is
Oh, I
doing?
feel good.
Yours is feeling
Ouch.
good? Maybe get your hands a little bit more water,
Could
just
you
so
put
that...
me a little more water in
Let
my
me see how
dough?
yours is going. Hold on. Oh, yours is really good, sweetie. It's a good texture. Don't you think?
Could you do it really fast?
I could in a minute, but I think... Do you want a little bit of oats in your dough?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, you keep working it a little bit more, okay?
Yuck! It feels so yucky.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay, are you kneading your dough to make all those nice tight strings? You can show Ethan, right, how we knead the dough.
So you flatten it out first. Ow. Like this. Then you fold it. And you just keep doing that over again. And do you know where the strings are, Ethan? Where they're inside the bread. You make a hole, you'll find them. But just don't make too many. Or the strings will break.
So keep kneading your bread, keep kneading that dough, right?
Can I make spiral?
Sure, you can make spiral.
Ooh. Can I just do a trick?
Sure. Okay,
Oh.
so Sunny, do you remember how to get the apples into the dough without them peeking out the top? Okay, you ready, Ethan? Just flatten your dough a little bit more. That's good, and I'm going to give you apples, okay? And then just wait before you do anything, okay? And I'll let you know. So you can spread them out a little bit.
Okay.
Into the middle, right? Squish it down a little bit, right?
Perfect.
And then fold it again from the sides. Yep. And then maybe even one more time. That's perfect. That's great.
Oh no, an apple.
And then you can pick it up and
Pointing
put it in,
apple.
just pick it up and plop it into your
Mom.
pan.
When am I gonna eat the bread?
I can bring it to your house tomorrow if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.